Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Aztec fans everywhere are gearing up for the NCAA National Championship game in Houston tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The San Diego State men's basketball team has reached the end of the road for their historic season. One more win against UConn is what they need. And we begin our coverage in Houston, where KPBS reporter MG Perez is at NRG Stadium.
There is room for up to 72,000 people here inside NRG Stadium. And by tip-off tonight, most of those seats are expected to be filled. Tonight, of course, is the final championship game. But everyone is still talking about what happened here on this court Saturday night and what's being described as the Great San Diego Miracle.
And it's blocked, pulled down by Mensah.
You had to see it to believe it. And even then, it was stunning and spectacular.
It's Butler with 2 seconds. He's got to put it up, and he wins it.
Never before has one shot packed such a punch and caused so much appreciation. These Aztec fans are 2008 San Diego State alums and Sigma Chi fraternity brothers who traveled to Houston for this moment.
San Diego has been working for this for 15 years, and it's our time to take this championship.
There's no doubt in my mind we're going to win the championship, put San Diego State on the map. Let's go, #1, baby. Beyond us, not a closer.
The signs and the sentiments make it clear that tonight in NRG Stadium, these fans believe the time has come.
Being a San Diego fan, you've been heartbroken so many years with the, Padres, with the Chargers, everything, and then they freaking made that shot, and we thought, oh my guys, the greatest, 5 seconds in sports history in my entire life.
Junior guard Lamont Butler is the buzzer beater.
Once I looked up, it was 2 seconds left, so I knew I had to make a shot, and I got to a shot that I'm comfortable with, a one-dribble pull-up, and I'm just glad it went in.
It went in, and Aztecs fans everywhere were out of their seats and out of their minds with joy. In Houston, MG Perez, KPBS News.
And while the diehard fans are in Houston, there are plenty of watch parties happening across San Diego to cheer on the Aztecs. And KPBS reporter Jacob Bear is live at San Diego State's home court at Viejas Arena for the biggest watch party in town. Jacob.
Hi, Maya. What a day to be an Aztecs fan. And thousands of people are here about to crowd into Viejas Arena for a watch party on the big screens in just a couple of minutes. And the craziness doesn't stop just here. Earlier today at the SDSU bookstore, there were hundreds of people cramming in, and it was a sea of red and black. Whether walking around campus or inside SDSU's bookstore, Aztecs pride was in full effect.
Go Aztecs!
But that was also making it difficult to try and buy new San Diego State gear, as hundreds of people were crammed in and lined up inside the bookstore to support their team, including Isaac Zapata.
We got like 2 tank tops and this baseball jersey. I was trying to get a basketball jersey, but they're completely sold out. They only had smalls, and I'm not really a small, so I'm trying to find anything that would work for the game today.
It's a little like David and Goliath tonight for SDSU. The Aztecs are taking on the powerhouse University of Connecticut team in the finals, a team that's heavily favored to win the game. But SDSU fans remind the doubters that the team's beaten other opponents throughout March Madness that were supposed to win. On top of that, the team can rally from behind and stun with last-minute heroics.
With 2 seconds, he's got to put it up, and he wins it!
Like they did in the Final Four.
Oh, it's super, super cool, especially the buzzer beater. That was crazy, because for a second there, I'm not going to lie, I did not think we were going to win, and I was very much accepting it.
It's been a long journey for this Aztec team, and it's pretty amazing to think that this underdog squad has made it this far. Before this year, they had never even made it to the Elite Eight. Now, the school is playing in college basketball's biggest game.
I mean, it means a lot. Like, this is big for the school, money, spirit. I mean, you see how many people are here right now. Like, bookstores never like this.
The doors just opened here at Viejas Arena, and tip-off is scheduled for 6:20, so we're still just over an hour out. But whether you're a student, alumni, or just a supportive San Diegan, everyone here is welcome. Maya?
And Jacob, it looks like it's getting pretty busy out there. How many people can actually fit in that stadium?
It is very busy out here. There's thousands already. The stadium capacity is just over 12,000, so if you want a seat, you're going to have to get out here very quickly. Back to you, Maya.
Thanks so much for that reporting, Jacob. And we have more coverage of the Aztecs and their history-making run. Coming up, how Lamont Butler overcame personal tragedy to become the hero of the Final Four game. Starting today, high-risk health care settings are free to stop requiring masks in most situations, and that's the new masking guidance from the state's public health department. As KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen found out, the policies at local hospitals vary.
For the past 3 years, to enter a hospital, you've needed to wear a mask. It's part of the COVID protocol to protect you, healthcare workers, and patients. But California's masking rules are changing. Starting today, the state's public health department has lifted the mask mandate.
They are encouraging healthcare settings, particularly hospitals, psychiatric hospitals, and long-term care facilities to develop their own policies and procedures in this regard.
County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says the county will also follow the state's guidance. The county passed a resolution last year to align its COVID policies with the state's. At local hospitals, however, the policy vary.
We don't want to forget the lessons that we learned these last 3 years.
Dr. Ghazala Sharif is the chief medical officer at Scripps Health. Scripps and Sharp worked together to craft their policies. Sharif says they were among the hospitals with the highest load of COVID patients in the past 3 years.
Hence us wanting to be a little more slow and steady versus saying masks, off for everybody in all patient care areas. We know what it looks like to get healthcare workers sick. That happened last year when we had over 700 staff members out with COVID, and so we don't want to repeat that over again. So this is our middle ground.
Workers will still need a mask up in patient exam rooms and hospital suites and within 6 feet of each other. At Kaiser Permanente and Rady's Children's Hospital, masks would not be required for patients and workers, but masking will still be required for certain health procedures, such as intubating, where coughing and other reactions are more likely to spread infectious diseases. Alvarado and Paradise Valley's hospitals' masking requirements will remain in effect in highly infectious areas. While the masking mandate is no longer in effect, those with respiratory symptoms and illnesses are still expected to mask up at hospitals and other healthcare settings. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Today, San Diego County honored 17 people and organizations for their work in advancing public health and protecting the health and well-being of San Diegans. And among them was our own KPBS health reporter, Matt Hoffman. The event happens every year during National Public Health Week. It was the first in-person celebration since the start of the pandemic, and there he is. Now to a developing story the nation is watching. Former President Donald Trump arrived in New York City today from his home at Mar-a-Lago. He is at Trump Tower meeting with his legal team ahead of his historical surrender and arraignment tomorrow. Mike Valerio is in New York with more on the legal preparations.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to spend Monday evening back in Trump Tower, strategizing with his legal team ahead of Tuesday's voluntary surrender and arraignment.
He's taken into custody with his Secret Service detail in tow. He will be booked, so he'll be fingerprinted. He'll get a NICID number, which is the New York State tracker that shows you've been arrested and charged with a felony.
Trump's defense team is clear on its planned response.
We will very loudly and proudly say not guilty. I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming because there's no law that fits this.
And once the indictment is unsealed,
the team will look at every potential issue that we will be able to challenge, and we will challenge it.
On his media platform, Truth Social, overnight, Trump continued the drumbeat of the unproven claim that the case judge, quote, hates him.
What we have to do is actually let the process play out. This is the criminal justice system in America. When it's at its best, justice is blind. That's the aspiration here.
New York City leaders say there have been no specific credible security threats so far.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves.
Violence and destruction are not part of legitimate, lawful expression, and it will never be tolerated in our city.
In New York, Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, former President Trump travels to New York ahead of his Tuesday arraignment in a hush money case. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The team is in place for NASA's return to the moon. The space agency announced the 5 astronauts who will make up the Artemis II mission. Later this year, they'll travel around the moon in a flyby mission, and after that, they'll splash down off of the coast of San Diego. Artemis II, a precursor to return people to the moon's surface later this decade. There's a new reason to visit one of San Diego County's many museums. A very big reason. KPBS reporter John Carroll traveled out to Campo to the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum to see the museum's newest piece of railroad history.
A little over an hour east of San Diego lies the sleepy little town of Campo and the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum. You'll know you're there by all the signs. The museum is only open on weekends, but museum president Stephen Hager and the museum's conductor Colin Atwood were nice enough to meet us on a weekday to show us around and to show off the museum's latest acquisition.
Our mission out here is to preserve and interpret railroads and railroad history in the Pacific Southwest of the United States with a focus on railroads in San Diego County.
And right there behind Hager is a major piece of recent railroad history in the county.
The technical term is an F40 PHM-2C commuter locomotive.
The F40 PHM, what he said, powered coaster commuter trains between San Diego and Oceanside from 1995 until 2021. It's unique among American-built locomotives.
The North County Transit District, which operates the coaster service, custom ordered this locomotive and 4 sister locomotives just for that commuter train service. There's no other locomotives exactly like them that were ever built.
The coaster locomotive takes its place among the museum's extensive collection, everything from boxcars to hand carts, passenger cars to cabooses, many parked outside, waiting for the day when funds are available to restore them. Hager says even the coaster locomotive needs a little TLC, but it's inside where you find this museum's crown jewels. Museum conductor Colin Atwood can tell you all about them.
We have a lot of living history here in this museum that we love to share with everybody.
One piece of that living history, this little fire engine that runs on rails.
So it was able to get to places that your traditional fire truck couldn't get to. So if there was a tunnel fire somewhere between wherever the road was and the next connecting road, this would be able to get in between to handle that fire.
Here you can see how railroads invented signaling technology, later adapted for automobiles. There is Southern Pacific 2353, an oil-fired locomotive built in 1912, and a Santa Fe Railway post office. This is how the mail moved after the Pony Express galloped off into history.
It's always good to know where it is that you've come from as a country and where we have gone and where we're going. So this is the perfect place to come and look at actual living history.
Back to recent history, the coaster locomotive. Museum management had to work their way through 4.5 years of governmental, logistical, and financial hurdles before the process of moving it to Campo could begin. The story of how this locomotive got here is a doozy. Let's just say it didn't get here by an engineer sitting in this cab driving it here.
Right now, we have no rail connection to the outside world here in Campo. So the only option to get locomotives and cars here is to put them on a truck.
It started its journey on a train in Anaheim where the museum was storing it.
Was taken out to La Mirada, got on a second train which took it to Barstow, then got on a third train to San Diego, and then finally one fourth train that brought it down to National City.
From there, it was loaded onto 2 huge high-weight dollies and trucked out to the museum, a process that took about a month. But for Stephen Hager, Colin Atwood, and the rest of the volunteers who make this museum go, it was worth it. A new addition, relatively speaking, to a special place that rolls out the history of railroad travel. A place, like any good museum, that tells a story of where we've been, how we got to where we are today, and perhaps where we're going next. John Carroll, KPBS News.
There's progress in North County along State Route 78, but the mess is far from over. Caltrans expects to have westbound lanes back open by Wednesday morning. A couple of weeks ago, a strong storm caused a sinkhole that damaged part of the freeway. Once westbound travel reopens, repairs will begin on eastbound lanes. Caltrans says it could take 3 weeks to finish the job. For more than a decade, we've been dealing with a severe drought across California, but this winter's repeated storms have wiped out those dry conditions. Today, the State Department of Water Resources released its April snow survey, and this season's snowfall totals are among the largest on record. Snowpack in the Sierra is 221% higher than normal, and statewide, the figure is 237% higher. And it's not just the water supply that's impacted by the snowpack, but also hydropower. As Heather Waldman reports, it's a clean, renewable power source that could save consumers money.
In a typical year, hydropower provides about 15% of our total power portfolio.
But with a record snowpack this season, it's safe to say this year will not be so typical. KCRA joined workers with PG&E as they conducted one of the utility company's own snow surveys.
PG&E has been doing snow surveys for about 100 years, and we share our data with DWR.
They use the same tools as DWR too, taking measurements of snow depth and snow density.
Now we're going to weigh the sample.
Snow surveys are most often associated with water supply forecasting, but PG&E sees all of this snow as potential power. The measurements they take in the mountains will help them figure out just how much.
PG&E has more than 60 hydroelectric powerhouses in California.
And water stored in this particular part of the snowpack will run through as many as 7 of those powerhouses, generating electricity as it flows down to the valley. PG&E spokesman Paul Moreno says hydropower has many benefits.
The advantage of hydropower, of course, is clean, it's renewable, and it's very cost effective. So a year like this is going to be very good.
Very good for the grid and very good for the environment.
During drought years, when we have less hydroelectric power, that typically means we need to rely more on fossil fuel power,
which can be more expensive for PG&E and its customers.
We're at 182 inches.
With more hydropower to offset that fossil fuel usage this year, your electric bill could be lower.
In fact, because hydropower is more cost effective, it also means that we have to buy less fossil fuel, which tends to be more expensive, and that savings will be passed on to consumers.
Gusty breezes continue throughout the evening and in some cases even into the overnight throughout the mountainous terrain. It continued quite cool as we go into Tuesday, but some changes thereafter. We'll then talk about a warming trend. Active weather alerts are out through late this evening, including wind advisories, where we're still talking about those gusty breezes and then even higher winds as you see the high wind warning out. And this is going to be some of the higher terrain around Pine Valley and also toward Mount Laguna, going right through late this evening. Now, in addition to the wind, you're going to feel that or hear that wind around Mount Laguna, surrounding areas, even some of the interior valleys. We're going to be dropping in the 30s tonight toward Oceanside. Chilly night coming up here, but not the coldest night. Now, wait until you see what we're going to be experiencing as we venture our way into Tuesday night. All right, Futurecast not showing that much of the way of precipitation. Again, mainly clear skies are going to be in place. And again, talking about all that rain late last week, well, changes are indeed in store as we go throughout the coming days. All right, here's your Tuesday outlook, and check this out. We're going to be following, again, the chill, especially over the interior, but the next round of wet weather remains off to the north. But we're only going to be climbing up at the lower 60s, well below those historical averages. 61 in Chula Vista, 38 Mount Laguna, that's it. Even Borrego Springs only topping off around that 70-degree mark. And then tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the potential for some record lows, at least challenging some of those record lows. We're going to be getting down into the 30s and the low 40s. Dry and chilly heading into Wednesday, and then we'll start to turn things around. We'll notice that by Thursday, we're going to be climbing up close to 70 toward the coast, and quiet conditions leading into the weekend. Interior valleys, mid-70s by Thursday, but still chilly on Tuesday. And yeah, look at that, 37 degrees. Ooh, it's going to be a cold one out there. Mountainous terrain. Still chilly even late week, but notice the gradual climb here, going from the upper 30s to near 50 by Friday afternoon. And throughout the deserts, we're going to be topping off in the 80s by the time we head into Friday and Saturday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
As the Aztecs go for the win tonight in Houston, many are still high off of the win that got them there and Lamont Butler's winning shot at the buzzer. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado tells us Butler may be celebrated now, but it wasn't always this way.
It's Butler with 2 seconds. He's got to put it up, and he wins it!
Lamont Butler has become a local legend. And just like that, the Aztecs' number 5 did what some thought was impossible.
A San Diego State miracle!
He made the shot heard around the basketball world, making history for SDSU's Aztecs. The team is playing for the first time ever in the NCAA championship, but you wouldn't know it by his humble reaction.
Once I looked up, it was 2 seconds left, so I know I had to make a shot, and I got to a shot that I'm comfortable with, a one-dribble pull-up, and I'm just glad it went in.
He's just glad it went in, and his coach was too.
Most guys dream of making one of those plays, and he's made a couple already this year, and on as big a stage as there is in the national semifinals, to make that shot was incredible.
Most fans had to watch from home, but Brian Drum, better known as Fiend, a local sports personality on the Sons of Montezuma podcast, he got to live that moment at the stadium in Houston, and he says it was magical.
I was hugging total strangers. We were just so overcome with joy.
He says for those who know Butler, what makes this even sweeter is knowing his journey.
What Lamont's had to overcome in the last year. I mean, he lost his sister, who was murdered. He broke his wrist during the season. He was also sick. He had kind of like a mental error versus Arkansas that basically, we lost the game. So he's been down, he's been maligned.
The grit of the young athlete who made that shot comes from California's Inland Empire, a place where the working class live, who are often discounted and overlooked. And that strengthens the bond between some San Diego fans and Butler.
We don't get national recognition.
Justin Downer, his high school coach at Riverside Poly, was also there to witness that shot.
He is just an unbelievable kid.
He says the sport has not come easy for Butler.
He was always a pass-first guy in high school. That's someone that's put in hours and hours and worked and worked.
Butler said, "I can't let 6 seconds define who I am." Now that quote is on a T-shirt. Coach Downer adds that no matter what happens tonight, Butler is already a champ at life.
Everyone that Lamont Butler comes in contact with is a better person and inspired after meeting him. Even if this shot didn't go in, that's who he is without that shot.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Media outlets from across the country are in Houston covering the NCAA championship game, including San Diego State's school newspaper. When the Daily Aztec sports section got approved to cover the Final Four, they were extremely excited to cover the biggest sporting event of their careers. They started a GoFundMe campaign to help with expenses. The Coast Sports editors Morgan Prickett and Justin Cox and photo editor Nolani Sapla are with the team. Both Prickett and Cox are seniors this year.
Just this tournament, this run has been incredible. So happy for the players and happy for all the fans that got to be here and experience this for the first time. Because, I mean, I know the San Diego sports scene has had a very rough few years and a rough history, but to be able to do this on this stage is great.
Prickett says the fans at the tournament have really brought the energy and are almost as electric as the show at Viejas Arena, and he adds that energy and the momentum behind San Diego State are the best factors they have heading into tonight's game. And speaking of Viejas Arena and energy, that's where SDSU students, alumni, and fans are arriving to cheer on the team. And KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer is there live. Jacob, how's it looking now?
It is looking pretty rowdy, as you can see behind me here. A lot of folks are still waiting to get in, and I actually have a faculty member here with me. Tell us who you are.
So my name is Julie Hansen, and I teach here. I teach accounting and information systems, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild here. How are you feeling about, you're going to go watch the game inside. How are you feeling about this atmosphere?
I worked here for a long time. I have never seen it this rowdy, and the school spirit is amazing. Like, just the way this has brought the school together, phenomenal, right? The bookstore was packed, T-shirts are flying off the shelf. Yeah, it's awesome.
And the crowd atmosphere is one thing. The watch party is clearly going to be electric. What do you think is actually going to happen tonight?
Well, we're going to win. So the Butler did it. The Butler's going to continue to do it. He was actually one of my students. And, yeah, if we play our game, I think we can have a shot at this and win.
That's amazing. And do you have a favorite player on the team, or what's something that really stands out to you about this year, maybe compared to last? Because you've actually been teaching here for 6 to 7 years.
Yeah, and I've had students in my basketball team, from the basketball team in my classes before. So I think there's a lot of really strong players. I just think we need to stick to our game. Obviously, Lamont is my favorite because he was my student, and so there you have it, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. And they're going to hopefully be headed in here soon. It's going to be electric here at Bayhaus. Reporting live from SDSU, Jacob Ayer, KPBS News. Back to you, Maya.
Thanks so much, Jacob, and thank you. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. And what's left to say tonight, but thanks for joining us. Have a great evening, and go Aztecs.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.